Hello and welcome to another vlog. This one is about no-dig potatoes and the different methods that can be employed to grow them. This first method is back to Eden, which is undug beds with 1 inch layer of compost and then up to 9 inches of old wood chips to be planted directly into. The tubes were planted into the soil just on top of the compost, so good access to nutrients and moisture levels, and then earthed up like I'm showing you here as you went along, just like a normal traditional way you would treat your potatoes with soil. The second way was no-dig methods, where the tubers were planted directly onto the ground, covered by a layer of compost, allowed to grow, and then when they emerged, that you can see just here, covered with a second layer of compost. Good quality compost, so plenty of nutrients, plenty of access to moisture levels. The black plastic you can see there, because I planted them so early, everything was covered up and allowed the frost to be kept away. So there we are. That's the summary of the way that those were treated. Now then, both methods were then covered by a layer of grass clippings. The grass clippings help retain the moisture. They help the tubers not get greened by the exposure to light, and they basically use a bigger area that the tubers can bulk up into. So there's various different reasons why you would use the grass clippings, but it was a really good addition, and the amount of greens on the harvest was very small on both of these methods. So that was a pretty good success, if I'm honest with you. Cardboard was used down the middle of the no-dig just to try and prevent weed growth, and that worked as well, and in fact it should have been employed more. The third way I was growing was in tubs, and I did also do a sub-trial of fertilizer, which we'll go into at the end of this video. But basically this was compost from 2020 that grew potatoes, reused in 2021 with no nutrients, and then recomposted this winter with fresh seaweed. These 3 buckets had no fertilizer whatsoever, and then just to compare yields, I used bloodfish and bone and proprietary chemical fertilizer. Now then, the harvesting of the Charlotte potatoes here was ridiculously easy in the back to Eden. In fact, all 3 methods were really easy to harvest, but they were the cleanest in the back to Eden. So that was a win for the back to Eden method for definite. But again, it's a slight benefit. All 3 methods are so easy, it's unbelievable. Very little scab, very little disease, perfect growing. If only it stopped the weeds. So here's the results then. The back to Eden method yielded £2.20 per plant. The no-dig method £3.56 per plant, and the tubs £3.56 per pot. So that was a really good comparison of how well these plants grew. You can draw your own conclusions on this and which way you would want to grow, but I will say that these pots were so easy to grow in, it's unbelievable. The only problem with pots is keeping the water levels up. All 3 crops were grown during quite a dry April and May. The pots in May struggled a bit. I must admit, I think it downed the yield a little bit. I did water these and the other 2 beds at exactly the same time so that it was all equal. It's always good to make direct comparisons, and the only way to do it is if you keep the conditions the same for all 3 different types. I don't think there was a need to water the no-dig or the back to Eden each time that the sub-layer was quite moist. Now then, the pots themselves were broken up into 3 different ways of fertilisation: nothing, chemical fertiliser, and a bloodfish and bone edit. I've had results before with using this method, and they echo what the yields that you will see split out in a minute. But this time I actually wanted to record the yields because I was so surprised at the overall results last time. And I'm just going to put this new slide up to show you exactly what those yields were. And as you see, these were Kestrel potatoes that were harvested, and each one was carefully weighed at the end. And then we'll see the results. So the yields were £2.81 for the chemical potato compost, £3.09 for the bloodfish and bone, and an astonishing £4.77 for the non-fertilised. This echoes my last results. So how do I explain those results? Well, the Back to the Eden and the no dig was exactly as I expected, pretty much along the lines of previous trials. The no dig as good as the compost you put on it. The Back to Eden, I just can never get it to work. That's the last time I try it. I won't ever try it again. The results speak for themselves. They mirror 2 years ago results, and to me, putting wood chips and planting into them is just robbing the soil of nitrogen. The tubs competed well. It was a real surprise to me that they had the results they did with chemical fertiliser and bloodfish and bone, both well below non-fertilised compost. Good compost because it is mixed with seaweed and rotted down over winter, so it was well powered again, but such a startling difference. Why did the chemical and the bloodfish and bone really not work? To me, it's to do with the nitrogen content in both of them. Too much foliage during a dry spell, not enough power to carry them through and then see the foliage develops. See the tubers developed. That's my explanation. The last time I tried this, I had the same results. I didn't really record it well then, but this time I have recorded it well. And to me, it's what I was expecting, along the lines of a surprise from before. If you've got good compost, you don't need fertiliser. Simple as that. With the trial with the main crop potatoes, that should bear that out, because there's no fertiliser in this. These are all just the composts, varying different composts, of course. As you know, I'm doing a trial on which compost blend will work the best. Oh, it's just interesting, you know. Why not? It's a hobby. Well, thank you very much for joining me again, and I'll see you again on the next one.